How's it going, fight fans? We are back here with another fight night, another Saturday night banger of boxing. In addition, I'm going to be going through the fights that I obviously predicted through this past week if you watched that prediction video. And while I did go for those predictions, I went 3-3 and 1. Well, excuse me, 3-1 and 1. Not bad for a scallywag as myself. Give myself a lot of credit for some pretty good predictions that I made here today. Before I start off the video, obviously you seeing the fights that I'm going to be talking about. Shout out to Andy Cruz, who got his nice TKO knockout on Antonio Moran, the fellow Cuban. But I'm going to be talking about the David Morrell fight against Mr. Hot Rod. I don't know really how to say his name specifically. Sorry for that, sir. But you did show a lot of heart and craft out there. I will tell you that. Hot Shot did like I said, he did throw a lot of craft. Didn't throw a lot of shots, in particular with power. Just placed a lot of shots, threw out a lot of shots, stayed busy, and really kind of threw off the timing of David Morrell throughout the entire fight. Made Morrell work a lot, and especially with being way more experienced and have triple the fights, triple the rounds, pretty much that, especially in professional fights that Morrell had, really showed the ropes. He was very effective and showed a lot of good work, man. I was honestly really impressed. And in my opinion, for David Morrell, this was good experience for him. He needed a fight like this, especially in his career, so he can be able to go into the bigger fights that he will have later in his career. So that way he can understand fights more, understand fighters that have more experience than him, obviously, right now. Especially jumping in his career, I think he just has 10 or 11 fights. He's definitely going to need that later in his career to show up for himself, especially with his defense, his diverse work, instead of just jumping in with there, and stop just planning himself with his feet, just being stuck to the ground, not really moving. So really need to work on the footwork, and also as well throwing stop throwing every shot that you have with power, man. Diversify everything, change up the speed, and get into different gears. And moving up the card, we had the first heavyweight fight that we were going to show between these two guys, and I predicted correctly, especially with him being a underdog as well. Martin Bakole versus Jared, the real big baby, Anderson. Last week's fight between Chisora and Joyce was definitely a flavor taste of this. It had a lot of drama and had a lot of shots and crazy power between those two guys. Kind of reminds me of the fight that's actually next up. But I mean, dude, what a tremendous fight this was, man. Lots of drama, lots of action packed. I mean, Bakole's power and strength of just his hands is insane. Insane, the power this man carries. Um, and as well, you got to give a lot of credit to Jared Anderson, man. His heart, his chin, and determination, getting rocked in that first round, especially being an undefeated fighter, really taking over and dominating most of the fights that you have, and then going against Bakole and getting dropped in that first round, getting dropped multiple times in the fight, and still wanting to continue to go through there. I mean, damn, it was just apparent, especially in the first exchange. I mean, like, the power difference was just insane. But I will give a lot of credit to Jared Anderson. He did slug it out as much as he can, use angles, try to be slick, and use boxing. But with a dude with this so much heavy hands, and especially at the heavyweight division, you're going to get caught eventually. And credit to Bakole and his timing that he has. I mean, he just didn't care. He didn't care where he was getting to get hit, whether it was to the body, whether it was to the head. He didn't care about Jared Anderson's power. He thought his power was shit. But still, Jared Anderson came to him, threw a lot of shots to the head, threw a lot of good shots to the body, try to get some bank in that basement. And he did a lot of good work, man. He did a lot of good work. And honestly, this is a great fight overall, man. I don't think Jared Anderson should be ashamed of him losing this fight. I think he'd be able to rebound and recover later in his career. But I mean, it was just too much of a big step up, man. He underestimated Bakole, took this fight the way that he did, and I mean, credit to him, man. A lot of hellacious body shots that he landed, but it was just nothing. He was just an immovable object. And now Martin Bakole is in the driver's seat of his career, and he can be able to make the big name fights for him to be able to go in his career. Now, moving up the card, we had Andy Ruiz versus Jarrell Big Baby Miller, the other big baby as well. Andy Ruiz did a lot of good work, especially in the beginning few rounds, the first 4 rounds in the beginning, and he really started to press forward and fighting the fight that he really had. And, usually the fight that he usually has, especially with his fast and quick hands. But Jarrell Miller, man, just turned it around, put on a pace, put on the pressure, had a lot of success in the middle and the end of the fight. In my opinion, being aggressive, bringing the pressure again, like I said, and just having effective body work. But really, he kind of just let this fight be up in arms. Same things I can say about Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz's cardio was shot. You can say the same thing about Jarrell Miller. His cardio was shot as well. Big heavyweight fat dudes. Kind of reminded me a little bit of a worse version of last week what we got between Chisora and Joyce. Um, you know, uh, Jarrell Miller was effective with the pressure, staying forward, landing good body shots, landing nice short shots here and there, but there would be rounds and there'd be times that he would just only do that at the last 10 seconds of a round and just walking around and just following Andy Ruiz, and Andy Ruiz would just be landing shots, even not maybe hard shots or like just glancing blows, and he was just more active in a lot more rounds than what you would think. And since he scored more shots, and Jarrell was just looking to press forward and use his weight and size for his advantage, which he did use really good. I think honestly, a draw isn't that bad. I can see Morel winning, and I can also see Ruiz winning, in my opinion, in that fight. But honestly, the performance of the night goes to Jose Valenzuela. He just put on a masterclass performance of the sweet science of boxing against Isaac Cruz, who was a heavy favorite but was a live dog in Valenzuela. I mean, just completely outboxing him from pillar to post. I mean, making Isaac Cruz uncomfortable in every situation, not really being able to settle in the shots that he was able to get off against, Gamboa and Tank at times, and as well as Rolly Romero in his last fight. Jose Valenzuela just came out with a great game plan and executed perfectly, like just landed it perfectly. Just he really staying on the outside, being a good boxer puncher, not just a boxer in itself, landing a lot of nice combinations here and there, and just getting out of the way, you know, making sure his defense is there as well. He did get caught a couple of times here and there, especially in the later rounds when he started to get tired, and Cruz just was just staying in his face and being effective and trying to land, just winging shots here and there. And Cruz did have success here and there. I will give him credit for that, but he definitely did not win this fight. I didn't think the fight was as close, even though I wanted to be as close as it was. I think Jose Valenzuela really ran away with this fight. Was just honestly, like I said again, a master class in boxing. Staying on the outside, making Cruz look silly, really frustrating him throughout the entire fight, and making him real desperate to get into, you know, really just poor and emotional moments for Cruz where he just wanted to just chase it down and just and really just take it instead of just, you know, really letting it come to him. Letting the fight and letting the ebb and flows and momentum to come his way. And honestly, man, a lot of credit for him just outclassing Cruz as a boxer. I don't really see Isaac Cruz as a boxer per se. I think he's really much of a great puncher with great pressure and a good chin, because I mean he got rocked with a lot of times with a lot of nice uppercuts, left uppercuts by Valenzuela. And honestly, a lot of credit to him, man. He stayed disciplined. He stayed in the fight. He stayed off the ropes. He stayed out of the corner and was really defensively sound. Had great footwork against Isaac Cruz. I mean, there's just so many superlatives and so many things that you can be able to say about Jose Valenzuela's performance, man, and it can't just be all something as one. I mean, again, huge credit to him. He really showed out. He can be really something in this division that's going to be a pain in the ass against a lot of top contenders, especially Shakur Stevenson and especially Tank Davis. I want to see the future for Jose Valenzuela. And then you move on to the main event of Terrence Crawford and Israel Madrimov. I mean, I called it. I called the knockout for Terrence Crawford, or I called him to come on later a lot better in the fight, which he did. But I called it. I thought it was just going to be exactly how I thought it was. It was going to be a very close, competitive fight, a very hard fight, especially for Terrence Crawford. You can definitely tell that the bump up in weight for him, especially in his first fight against Israel Madrimov, was something that was very considerable, something that was actually, an actual plot line, an actual thing that was actually going to happen, and not something that he was not just going to have to worry about since he was so skilled and talented. Man, moving up in weight actually means something. It actually is something that you have to take into consideration. Even though you're a great fighter, you may be great, but just in your division, you're great. Um, Israel Madrimov had a great game plan. He executed it well, but he could have done a lot more. Same thing that you could say about Jarrell Big Baby Miller in his fight as well. He could have done a lot more in his fight to be able to really secure the win. I don't think Madrimov won the fight at all. And I think the judges got it right because I think Terrence Crawford really banked in a lot of those early rounds, especially in the mid rounds as well. Credit to Madrimov. He was very, very patient and waiting for his moment whenever he can be able to seize it. And he used his footwork very, very well. Upper body movement, very jittery, very herky jerky, very, up and down, side to side, not really knowing where you're going to come, and it just threw Terrence off, and especially the size and strength as well. And being in that southpaw stance, it did take away Madrimov's straight jab to the body, but it left him open to a lot of straight right hands to the face. I mean, that straight right hand for Madrimov was at home against Crawford. I mean, it was landing at will. Best shot for Madrimov, I can say. But Terrence Crawford, man, was really, really effective in the spurts and in the moments that he was. I think he didn't want to get too carried away, especially just bumping up to 154. He started to taste that power, and while Crawford has a tremendous chin, you don't just want to move up to a higher weight class and then get caught with a shot that you're not expecting and then really get put in your ass and really getting hurt. Um, but one thing I will give a lot of credit to Terrence Crawford is he did have a lot of great body work, landed a lot of great body shots against Madrimov. But again, you don't know if it was as effective as it would have been at 140 and at 147. Crawford is still the lineal and still the undisputed welterweight champion in that division, but he moved up. Now is a four-weight division champion. And man, there's just so much things and so much superlatives again that you can just say about Terrence Crawford and his career. And now since he's starting to get out of his prime and his career is starting to wane down, now he's really starting to look for those money fights and those legacy fights as well, of course. The fight against Canelo, I think, is interesting, but not super interesting because I think that's just a huge, huge jump into weight. But I definitely do want to see him get into fights against Jaron Busenis, 147 or 154. It doesn't matter. Maybe against a Charlo, that would be a nice fight as well, even though he did lose against Canelo. But it would be a nice litmus test if he does want to go to 168 to fight Canelo. Honestly, man, impressive performance by both men. Madrimov really showed his skill and talent. Obviously, Crawford is still pound for pound one of the best fighters. Honestly, this card was incredible. It had everything that you wanted to with high drama, heavy power knockouts, good performances, and good testing for experience for younger fighters. A masterclass performance in Valenzuela, and obviously your pound for pound king that you have as of right now, Terrence Crawford. And man, it was a great Saturday night, great fight night, and I enjoyed watching it. Thank you guys for watching, man. Like this video. If obviously you like this video and you like this fight night card that you guys had to watch tonight, comment any opinions on any of the fights that you had it, or how you predicted it, or how you scored it, or what do you see out of these fighters and how you thought their performance went. Who do you want to see them fight in the future as well? Subscribe, man. Subscribe if you want more to watch this content, more of a consistent basis. I'm going to be pushing this content out for you guys. You know I got you every single Saturday night, fight night. You know that I'm here pushing out this content for you guys. Thank you guys for watching again, and peace.